Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Anna Stashkina, and on this channel you can find a lot of tutorials, tools about working with wafer paper, how to make modern cake designs, and everything that's about edible art and cake decorating. Today I wanted to answer one of the most common questions I get asked: what is wafer paper? Because I love working with wafer paper and I love making realistic or nature-inspired looking flowers using wafer paper, and I wanted to share my experience and why I love working with wafer paper. So first, let's talk about what is wafer paper. Wafer paper is an edible material or sheet of edible paper, and most of the time wafer paper made out of potato starch, some sort of oil, olive oil or sunflower oil and water, and it's just a dehydrated piece of paper like this. Wafer paper has two sides. One side is bumpy and the other side is smooth. Most of the time what I found that wafer paper comes in A4 size or letter size sheets. It's about 8.5 inches by 11 inches. That's what you can see here, and it resembles regular printer paper. So here is a piece of wafer paper and here's a piece of regular printer paper. So you can tell the difference in size because that's the European size. And wafer paper comes in a pack like this. So this is 100 sheets of Saracino wafer paper. That's what I use mostly for all my flowers and decorations. And wafer paper is edible, and because it's made out of potato starch, oil and water, it's gluten-free, vegan-friendly, and it's free of most of the allergens. So wafer paper is great to use for kids' cakes or for anyone who have any dietary restrictions such as vegan diet, vegetarian diet, and do not want to use anything that made with animal products. And because wafer paper is so thin, it has almost no taste. So if you're going to eat this, I'm going to try this for you. It dissolves in your mouth, and at first it tastes a little bit like a piece of paper, but it dissolves in your mouth so quickly it has no taste. If you're going to make your wafer paper flowers using my conditioner or any conditioner that's available on the market, you can add just a drop of lemon extract or maybe vanilla extract to flavor your wafer paper. I wouldn't recommend you to add sugar in particular, because sugar can change the texture and make your wafer paper sticky and not so easy to work with. So if you're going to use my recipe, you can add just a drop of any food essence or something like this to make it, to flavor your wafer paper if you're going to make edible flowers. And wafer paper is very flexible, and you can make a lot of different things using wafer paper, such as flowers. I have my collection of wafer paper flowers here, and you can see a lot of cakes behind me, but most of the time I use wafer paper to make flowers. So you can manipulate wafer paper in any shape you want. Like I have here this David Austin rose, and I have this ivy branches, and it's been sitting in my cupboard for almost a year, and you can see it stays relatively flexible, and I'm not afraid to put it on a cake or drop it. It stays flexible for a long period of time, so that's another good reason to use wafer paper. And if you're going to work with wafer paper, I think it's important to know that there are different grades of wafer paper. I have a blog post, I will put a link in the description, where you can learn more about different grades, but in general there is 0 grade wafer paper, which is 0.22 millimeters, 80 grade or premium wafer paper, which is about in between 0.27 millimeters to 0.35 millimeters, and DD grade or double thickness wafer paper, which is about 0.60 millimeters, and it's really thick. My personal preference, if I'm making flowers, I prefer to use zero grade, which is 0.22 millimeters, or Saraceno wafer paper, which is 80 grade, or 0.27 millimeters. Any wafer paper would work if you are just starting out. You can create different types of decorations using any wafer paper you have on hand, even if it's not fresh and you've had it for a long period of time, as long as it smells good. So when you take your wafer paper and you can smell that it has no smell, it's totally fine to use. And if you're going to keep your wafer paper, if you wanted to store your wafer paper, I suggest you to use Ziploc bags like I have here, and make sure that you close it tightly so your wafer paper will stay fresh for a long period of time, and then you can use it when you need it. And another question I get asked, where I can use wafer paper, or can I put it on what? And you can safely put your wafer paper on fondant covered cakes, you can safely put your wafer paper on ganache cakes, everything that is dry to touch or fat based, like ganache cakes. Ganache is fat based. You can put your wafer paper on American buttercream, especially if it's crushed in buttercream, you will have no problem with that. But if you're going to work with Italian meringue buttercream or Swiss meringue buttercream, or something that has a high amount of moisture, or whipped cream, or anything, I would suggest you to protect your wafer paper. So you can take your flour, any flour you have and you wanted to put on a cake, and apply a thin layer of melted cocoa butter or even melted chocolate before you're going to place it on your cake. So you need to create this fat-based protective layer in between your flour and your cake. And I have a tutorial how to do that. I will also put it in the description below so you can learn how to safely put wafer paper on buttercream cakes. But in general, I would suggest you to test and to see for yourself. You don't need to make a flour if you wanted to test your whipped cream or something that you use, because I do not know all the recipes, and I work with only fondant covered cakes, and wafer paper is totally safe on fondant cakes. So you can grab a spoon of your buttercream or your whipped cream, you can take a piece of your wafer paper, and if you're going to take a spoon of your cream, for example, stick a piece of wafer paper and let it sit for an hour or maybe 2-3 hours, so you can get an idea if your wafer paper will melt on your buttercream or your frosting or not. And please let me know if you're going to use like whipped cream or something interesting. Just message me over on Instagram and let me know that you tried. I would love to know what is possible with wafer paper as well. Another question, if can you use wafer paper in high humidity, or can you refrigerate your wafer paper? And my general suggestion is you need to know your humidity level. Everything that's below 70% or even maybe 75% is totally fine. Wafer paper won't melt, won't wilt, nothing is going to happen. So I suggest you to have something like this humidity meter, and you can tell that now my humidity is 72%. So it's relatively humid, I would say. And you can see that my flowers still dry, and all my cakes in my cupboard and all these flowers, they can totally survive high humidity. And actually wafer paper is much more stable in high humidity compared to sugar paste, because sugar will absorb a lot of moisture. Sugar is a humectant, will absorb a lot of moisture from the air, from the surrounding air, and it will melt much faster compared to wafer paper. So if you're going to work with wafer paper, you wanted to refrigerate it, or you wanted to work with wafer paper in high humidity, first of all, have your humidity checker. So check your humidity, know your level, and if your level is above 70 or even 75% humidity, what I would suggest you to do if you're going to use my AC tonic recipe is lower the amount of glycerin you would use, like cut it in half and see if that would work for you. Or and another thing you need to do is when you're going to make your petals, make sure that your petals are completely dry before you're going to assemble your flower. When your petals are dry and you're going to put it together, it will stay like this for a long period of time if it's dry, if it's already dry. So you can see my flowers are totally fine. My humidity is relatively high today. And now you know that you can use wafer paper for everything you wanted to. It's very versatile and it's very beautiful material to work with. And if you're watching this today, Tuesday, when this video was released, I would like to invite you to join me for a free masterclass where I'll show you how to make wafer paper butterfly ranunculus, how to vein wafer paper, and how to make all the beautiful textures. And we are going to use only wafer paper, no other edible materials such as fondant, no gum paste, no nothing, just wafer paper. And we are going to create beautiful wafer paper butterfly ranunculus. All the links will be in the description and somewhere on top on the screen. Join me for this free wafer paper masterclass because I want you to learn how to work with wafer paper, and I wanted to answer all your questions, and I wanted to show you everything I know and inspire you to try, maybe create beautiful flowers for yourself. Thank you again for joining me today. I hope I answered some of your questions about working with wafer paper. Please check the descriptions for all the links, and I'll see you next week. My name is Anna Stashkina. Bye bye.